Hello, and welcome to season 4 of How to Play D&D, the explainer podcast with one experienced dungeon master and one failed scriptwriter to discuss D&D topics. My name is Kinsey, and my illustrious guest this week is Andrew Bond of Kingdom Sleeps. Hello, Andrew.
Hello. Pleasure to be here.
Hello. Yeah, thanks for being here. Thanks for putting up with us and being here so early for being busy today.
Yes, it is 7 a.m. and I'm barely awake, but let's talk about some D&D.
Yes, it's the only way to do it. Do you know what the topic is this week that you've selected?
I believe I've selected actual plays.
Let's get to it. Okay, so today's episode is about actual plays in D&D. We've all heard of Critical Role in Dimension 20, but has anyone heard of my mate Steve, who in what can only be recorded as emotionally heroic, shoved 26 baby carrots up himself in solidarity with Rochdale Police's budget cuts? I think not. Anything to add, Andrew?
Yeah, I have actually heard of Steve, and I think it's a tragic story, and I pray for him.
Who knew that much orange going inside you could ruin your life?
I did.
Who knew?
From experience.
Yeah. Oh shit. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. We've not had that on the podcast.
It is early, and I've not had a coffee. I'm sorry about what this is about to be.
Yeah. Scary.
Yeah.
Right. Well, funnily enough, now I'll ask you the horrible question. Andrew, smelling burning toast is a telltale sign of an oncoming stroke. So what does projectile vomiting at the sight of pensioners mean? What am I doing?
I don't know what that means, but you should probably consult a doctor or a wizard immediately.
Yeah, thank you. I was inspired by my mate Steve, and then I just don't like pensioners, and I thought I'll put them together. No,
fair enough. They scrounge and smell. So
yeah, sensory overload with pensioners. All right, to the real questions. Andrew, what is actual play?
Actual play is essentially whenever a group of people get together and play Dungeons and Dragons for entertainment purposes. So that might be in a podcast, that could be live, that could be a live stream online. But it's getting together for a visual sometimes, or just audio experience of Dungeons and Dragons for other people's entertainment, basically.
Nice. Yeah, a precise analogy at 7 a.m, by the way.
I don't know where it came from, to be honest. Let's hope it continues.
Yeah. We're both surprised, both shocked. There's definitely an idea of what our own sessions should feel like due to some of the bigger actual plays. What can new DMs actually do to raise the quality of their game?
I think if you're a new DM and you want, if you're trying to get your actual play to feel more like an actual play, right? You might watch like Critical Role or Dimension 20, then you probably, watch a lot of those things, I guess, because they are incredibly professional. They are, the creme de la creme of the industry. And what you'll quickly learn and notice is that there is a real difference between like a home game that you might just play with your friends casually and an actual play. And I think it boils down to treating it a lot more sort of like an audio play, I suppose. People are way more conscious of one of the big things is not talking over each other, giving each other space, unless it's meant to be that sort of chaotic energy. But like most of the time, giving each other that space to have your piece so that you are, doing something a lot more akin to sort of like a play, as opposed to just sort of like being raucous and talking over each other. But of course, in both Dimension 20 and Critical Role, they do still do a little bit of that, which I think is fine as part of the energy. People want to get to know you and the group. But mostly giving space to the narrative as a whole, as opposed to feeling like a player, feel like a role player in that moment, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, definitely. It feels like they've all got experience of kind of just playing D&D in that setting, but also a lot of them come from kind of an acting background. So they kind of know when it's their turn to kind of it's their moment to shine, right? Their time to shine, and also just being really good listeners. And it's you think you can do that as a DM and kind of like shape the party to be like that, or they'll get it from you over time. Is like no, like I said, knowing when to speak, knowing when it can be kind of cutting each other and raucous because it feels like the right moment to kind of elevate what's going on, rather than just interrupting to say your piece. It's kind of always turn based without needing the initiative, right? That's
Absolutely.
how I see D&D.
Yeah, no, it's a great point, and
Yeah.
especially with, like Dimension 20, a lot of the performers on there come from like a comedy improv background, the whole
Mm.
yes and thing. So yeah, their experience in performing and improvising in kind of like a different way for people is on point. So I'd also recommend probably just watching people do improv because that's a really good experience. It's basically the same thing.
Yeah, nice. That's a good chat actually. If new DMs wanted to run sessions online and record it, what would they need to do?
If they wanted to do sessions online and record it, there's a bunch of different things you could do. You could simply get together on something like Discord, which we are on currently, with your friends, whoever you're going to be playing. You could just capture it, or and that's the base level sort of like simplest way that you could do it, I suppose, all the way through to actually getting together in person, setting up several cameras, or perhaps one wide camera and a couple of individual ones, and then using microphones to record yourselves, and then sort of like stitch that together to put it online. That's probably like the spectrum, and then in between that you can, improve the quality of your cameras or your microphones and be streaming online. Kind of depends how it is you're going to be playing, whether it is online or in person. But stick to. My advice would be stick to your strengths. If you already know a lot about videos and audio equipment, great, go for it. Like go all out with your production. If it's not your first instinct, these things can get really tricky and technical and can go a bit wrong. Of course, put some time into like researching cameras and audio equipment and stuff. But ultimately, it's going to be the game and the energy that you bring to it that is the thing that gets people to watch your show. So keep it simple in terms of prod, I'd say. If it does just mean that you just get together on Discord and you're literally just recording the internal audio using something like QuickTime or OBS, good softwares for that, then just do that. Keep it simple for yourself, for sure.
Yeah, I've had that recently where we well at the point of this podcast coming out, it's been a good while now, but the Barbie live stream we did recently, this is a self promotion. It was a nightmare to for someone who's not technical to be like, well, I don't have all the cameras, and it is online with people across like the internet, so I can't just stick them in one place, set a camera up, and record with mics. How do I do this? And it took literally a month of talking to different people to get exactly kind of what I was trying to get across. And I realized in that, just from you explaining there, that actually the best setup probably for me would have been people in a room and just some mics, and probably ignoring video completely, not because of like the production after, but I just, like you said, you kind of need to capture what we're literally doing there. And I think that would have been enough for me personally to be interested, you know?
Mm.
So it really is like you just said then, it's really interesting, like really important to work out like what you want and why, I think, because sometimes you don't need all of those elaborate things like Critical Role and Dimension 20. You won't compete with those. So just kind
Mm.
of work out why do you want people to listen and what do you hope for them to get out of it, you know?
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. What is the core of what you're doing, and then tailor it to
Mm.
that. It's like Kingdom Sleeps is an actual play for sleep. So we sacked off visuals up until for most of the
Yeah,
series. So because you're going to sleep, so that's the perfect example, I suppose, of yeah. Only do what you need. Don't make it too complicated.
exactly. Do you have an example in which an actual play helped your own DMing experience?
Yeah, I think actual plays are completely formative to my DMing experiences. You watch people like Matt Mercer get up there and DM, and you can't help but be inspired by everything that he does. I think mainly it's people like Matt Mercer and Brennan Lee Monaghan. I really enjoy. I know they're like the big hitters, but like in terms of their like descriptive nature, I always felt like when I first started DMing, descriptively, it was kind of like, and you're walking along, and it's morning, and there's some grass over there. There's a tree, and the way that they sort of like. I don't know how much of it they write or improvise, but their way of setting up a scene and including, I've noticed that they really try hard to incorporate all like senses when they describe. So if they're going to lay up a scene, it's like you see the ocean in front of you, you can smell the salt and the wind is going through your hair and that coldness across your face sort of thing. Has really helped me, I feel, create more immersive games. And actual plays, are full of that, especially if you watch the professionals.
Yeah, it feels. I guess for like as you described about the senses, a bit like a book where it gives you everything. When you enter a room, it's kind of the idea when kind of like writing as an author is to make sure that everyone can kind of like see, smell, taste, and feel just through the words on the paper. And they're really good at that, regardless of their background of being voice actors or a comedy improv background for like Brandon. Like it's interesting that they've kind of like tried to take in everything from every medium to make that like an immersive experience, whether you're there or not. Um, do I have an example in which an actual play helped my own DM experience? I think it's a case of I usually keep things really grounded where it's just I'm describing it and then maybe a battle board and that's it. It's kind of like people get here after work and we just crack on. I think I go from my screenwriting background. I try to kind of have a few pros and I kind of like set the scene like you just said then. But I think the main thing is kind of making sure that there's kind of always some kind of natural cliffhanger to end from each session. To feel a bit. I even write them and call them episodes rather than like session one. It's episode one, chapter one. Where I try to formulate it like a screenplay, and you get that in some of those live plays as well, those actual plays. So that I guess we all do that. Having just seen, even if you've seen one episode, you go, "Oh, that's pretty good. That's why they're the best, right?"
Yeah, that's huge. That's huge. Yeah, only you just saying that there has made me realise. Yes, I always try and incorporate a cliffhanger. I, in fact, very recently finished a campaign after about 3 years, and at the end of the campaign,
Wow.
I felt it sort of felt flat, and I couldn't really figure out why. And I've realised now it's because I ended it. It's because it didn't have a cliffhanger at the end. And
Yeah,
perhaps I
yeah,
should
yeah.
have actually just given it a cliffhanger, just to even end the campaign on still a bit of a buzz. But yeah, it was the first time I hadn't like led into something else, which is
Yeah, it's
interesting.
tough.
Never thought of that until you just said that. Yeah.
It is tough. I mean, you don't want to use. It's like anything. You don't. They're tools. You don't want to use them repeatedly and over the top where it's not needed. But if you're only meeting like twice a month and that kind of thing, then that doesn't feel every time. Do you know what I mean? You
Mm,
can kind of use it because they've had a week or two. If you're playing that far apart, sometimes once a month, to kind of they kind of want that suspense. It feels like that works for a month's time. Do you know what I mean? And
yeah.
so it's hard to know where to leave it based on what you've seen and working out the maths of what people will enjoy.
Yeah. Yeah. So true. Yeah.
Okay, last. Well, that's actually all the questions. But can you tell us a bit about yourself and what you do?
Sure. Thanks. Yeah. Well, my name's Andrew Bond. I am here because I run an actual play called The Kingdom Sleeps, which is the way we describe it is a fantasy bedtime story decided by the roll of a dice. So it's myself and my co-host Tom Tyso, and basically we create sort of like an immersive actual play experience that we feel is akin a little bit more to a sleepy audio book, I suppose, set within a completely unique homebrewed world of the Kingdom of Sopros that we've created. And we just try and make actual plays that are are both sort of like a bit philosophical and profound, but also very immersive and helpful for sleep. So yeah, you can check out the Kingdom Sleeps if that sounds good to you.
Where can they find it?
You can find us on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, anywhere that you like to listen to your podcast stuff. Yeah, and it's just The Kingdom Sleeps. Search that in your search bar.
Perfect. We'll put a link in as well in the bio so people can find it for the episode.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
Oh no, it's got to be done. It's actually great. We've listened to a couple, and I have fallen asleep. No,
no way.
I'm
That's good. That's the only the only thing you can give a compliment to and be like, oh yeah, great. Yeah, you found it boring.
No,
awesome.
it makes sense. We're getting people on the podcast, who have something to offer that kind of people can educate people in some way or something they've not seen before, and like there's different ways of approaching D&D, and I think like it's a really good way of doing it. Hence why, I reached out and was like, would you be interested in this kind of, and us having that talk. So, appreciate it. Thank you very much.
No,
okay, well, today's adventure is sadly coming to a close. We're back in next week with a topic: do spiders excite people with a foot fetish? And as always, thank you for tuning in. And if you'd like to join in on the D&D action, then please follow us on Instagram at How to Play D&D, or check out the link in our bio to join our Discord server. I've been Connor Kinsey.
I've been Andrew Bond.
Good day.